All right, guys, what is going on? Farzin Vasugian here with you. It is New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to all of you. Yes, 2023 coming to an end. But before that, we have one game left for the Chiefs. Chiefs will play the Bengals. AFC West can be clinched if the Chiefs win or tie. I'm sure everyone prefers the former than the latter, but nonetheless, Chiefs and Bengals playing today. I know a lot of people are going to be going to this one. So even though last week was kind of weird, I know a lot of people last week keep talking about, oh, well, it was Christmas and people had their festivities. Yeah, but if the team was good, I think we would have saw a packed house. And the Chiefs have been disappointing this year. 3 straight games at Arrowhead, the Chiefs have lost. Now they haven't lost back-to-back games at Arrowhead in back-to-back weeks. I think I saw someone. Who was it on CBS Sports mention the Chiefs would not allow that to happen. I don't know. Not really. It's not anything I ever thought about. But the fact that they've lost 3 in a row, and I know a lot of people have mentioned this last week, Arrowhead, not really that unbeatable, intimidating place anymore. Not that big factor. Not really a thing this year for the Chiefs. And I think if you're the Chiefs, the thing that I'm really concerned about is how do they respond after all of these failures and whatnot? Because with the Eagles game, MVS dropping the pass, oh, he'll learn from it and he'll come back stronger. And then what else happened? The whole Buffalo thing, and everyone saying, oh, Mahomes, lashing out at everyone. That's going to wake everyone up. And that didn't happen. So a lot of people, like in and outside of Kansas City, are looking for reasons as to why the Chiefs are going to turn things around. And we've exhausted, I think, every idea to see what's going to happen. And we're just at a point now where, we're waiting for this team to just turn it up like they say they're going to. Will they? You would like to think at some point. Here's my thing. And I was thinking about this during the week. It's really the turnovers and the drops. Now the turnovers, I don't have a lot of confidence that the Chiefs are going to fix that. But the drops, if the Chiefs are just catching the damn ball, and you got to hope at some point the receivers can nullify that mishap, this offense is going to be playing better. Patrick Mahomes is top 5 in the NFL in passing yards coming into this week, and he's dealing with a pretty bad offense this year. A lot of drops. And listen, last year, had the 2 offensive tackles that led the league in pressures allowed, but still found ways to get the ball moving. And I think at the end of the day, if you are the Chiefs, you want to find ways to focus. I mean, like, forget about, how opposing Chiefs have been facing some bad defenses this year. They've been going against backup QBs. Now, the defense against some of these backup QBs and even good, like starting QBs, Chiefs defense has done well. The Chiefs have gone up against a lot of top tier wide receivers this year. In fact, let me just look something up here. ESPN NFL stats. Because I did this a few weeks ago, and I think it's valid to revisit again. And I'll go back to the offense shortly, but let's look at all the leaders in receiving yards. Okay, CeeDee Lamb, who went off last night. By the way, I saw CeeDee Lamb was selected for a random drug test. Imagine that. A friend of mine texted me the Instagram post from ESPN, and all the comments were saying that the ref should be drug tested, which I thought was funny. So CeeDee Lamb, the Chiefs have not gone up against the Cowboys this year, obviously. Number 2, Tyreek Hill, went up against him, shut him down pretty well. Number 3, A.J. Brown, played very well against him. Number 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown, played very well against him. Number 5, Puka Nacua, have not gone up against him. Amari Cooper, not gone up against him. Keenan Allen, Chiefs did a good job against him earlier this year. Then you have Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, who the Chiefs will go up against today. DJ Moore, who they shut down earlier in the year. Stephon Diggs, who didn't really do much against the Chiefs. So a lot of these top tier receivers that I'm mentioning here, and there's a few more as the list goes on. You have Devontae Adams, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson. I know Justin Jefferson, not one of the league leaders because he missed a few games, but at the time he was one of the best receivers in the NFL, and the Chiefs did a really good job against him up until his injury, and he had to leave the game. Jordan Addison. I mean, there's a long list of wide receivers and tight ends who the Chiefs have gone up against this year, some pretty good ones, and have done a good job against them. So that's not the concern. The only concern would be if the offense can't get the ball moving and you're losing the time of possession battle, and you force your defense to be out there even longer in the fourth quarter when they're worn out. And that's when offenses can really pick you apart. So to me, for the Chiefs, the defense is not a concern. Offensively, man, you've gone up against some of the best defenses and some of the worst defenses, and a lot of the results have been the same. When you look at the Bengals defense, and I already went over the stats earlier this week, both on my social media posts and on the podcast, this is a Bengals defense that outside of, I was about to say TJ Hawkins, Hendrickson, Trey Hendrickson, there's really not a whole lot. Like Cam's going to be coming back for the Bengals today. I think he's a good cornerback for them, but outside of that, the Bengals defense hardly scares anybody. They're in the bottom 5 in the NFL in total defense against the pass, and bottom 5, I think 5th worst when it comes to third down defense. To my surprise, and I didn't realize this until I looked this up this week, the Chiefs are actually one of the better third down defenses in the NFL, or third down offenses, in the NFL. They're 5th best in the NFL. That was a surprise to me. If you want to know the order, it's Buffalo converting on more than 49% of their third down passes or runs. Philadelphia is second on that list. Dallas 3rd, San Francisco 4th, and then Kansas City is 5th on that list. That was a surprise to me. And I've said this all year long. Moving the football has not been a big issue for the Chiefs offense. It really hasn't. Even with the drops, which, you don't see that often. So at the end of the day, if you're the Chiefs, find a way to, work on the mental side of things, like focusing on catching the football, plain and simple, lining up right. I know a lot of people, the MVS offside call was a little questionable, but shit, man, you got to find ways to overcome that. Even like last night, the whole thing with the Lions, got to find ways to overcome bad officiating. If you put yourself in situations to not put it in the hands of the rest. And I think someone called in once, because I'm a huge UFC fan, and they reminded me of this. Dana White says often, don't put the fight in the hands of the judges. And that's a pretty good point. So you got to find ways to overcome that. If the Chiefs just play better mentally and just focus on these kinds of things, man, the offense will be doing a lot better. Here's the only concern I have going up against this Bengals defense. The Bengals are one of the better red zone defenses in the NFL, just outside of the top. Okay, I shouldn't say one of the better, but the red zone defense is not as bad as some of the other defensive categories out there. But and this is kind of a weird thing where you see bad defenses just allowing a lot of yards, but then when it comes to being in the red zone, they seem to turn it up there. And I've asked a few assistant coaches in the past about this. And they talk about, the whole shorter field, especially if you do have somewhat of a pass rush, that can always help because teams seem to try offenses whenever they're going up against a bad defense, try to do the whole vertical play, hoping that can be there. And that's generally not in those red zone situations. So that's football for you. I don't really have an explanation beyond that, but you're the Chiefs offense. Your only major concern is Trey Hendrickson. I think Jawan Taylor can play better this week against Sam Hubbard. But for crying out loud, if you're Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, and this is the part that scares the shit out of me for this game, because if they don't do this, this could be the difference maker in today's game. You got to double team Trey Hendrickson. Okay. Put Blake Bell, put Noah Gray. I don't care who. Preferably not LaMichael Pirine and Deneric Prince. I'm assuming they're going to be available because you don't have Jerick McKinnon in this one, who was a big factor in helping Orlando Brown last year in pass blocking. But you got to hope that at some point the Chiefs, come into this game using their brains and double teaming top tier pass rushers, because they didn't do that last week against Max Crosby, who was a top tier pass rusher. So I don't know, man. At some point, you got to think that the Chiefs are going to use their brains, but I don't know. Kind of concerns me. And look, I'm not suggesting Andy Reid to be fired. I've seen some people say it might be time to move on. I don't know, man. I've been very solid to the point. And I'll get you guys' comments here in a moment. If you guys are just joining in, let me know what your thoughts are. I'll do this for a few minutes and get out of here before the noon kickoff games. I've been like pretty consistent on the whole thing. This is Andy Reid's offense. Okay. I remember last year and the year before, whenever the Chiefs, especially 2021, when the Chiefs got off to that weird start, they were 3-4. Mahomes was leading the NFL in interceptions. A lot of people were blaming Eric Bieniemy for the offensive struggles. Now, they did turn it around and started playing much better football. Unfortunately, in that AFC title game against the Bengals, who the Chiefs are going to be playing today, a lot of those mistakes came back in that AFC title game. And I think the mistakes from that season Mahomes was making, missing wide open guys in a lot of games. If you guys have NFL Plus, go back and watch the Giants game from 2021. And I think it was the Chargers game, the one where Travis Kelce went off and had a monster game. Patrick Mahomes missed a lot of wide open guys in that football game right there, and did so again in the AFC title game to close out the season. So you gotta, and Mahomes is making some of those mistakes this year as well. Again, I know some Chiefs fans think that Mahomes is above criticism, but the reality is he's got to play better and hit those receivers. Now, is there a confidence issue with Mahomes not throwing the ball to MVS? Yeah, probably. Is that a valid reason to not be throwing the ball? No, you got to hope at some point the guys are going to catch the ball. Again, that is like the $1 million question. Are the Chiefs going to catch passes in this one? Because if they do that, man, they can make a deep playoff run. Gronk said something very similar, and then he followed it up by saying, "If they turn up that switch," and he's 100% right. That's the crazy part about this Chiefs team. Like offensively, they're not that bad when they're trying to move the football. When they get to the red zone, that's when they kind of hurt themselves. Sometimes self-inflicted, sometimes opposing defenses do things. Like in the Eagles game, when I think Mahomes wanted Justin Watson for his second touchdown, just threw a bad pass. And I can't remember the name of the safety who came away with that swipe. I think it was Byard. I can't remember who it was. No, Byard's on a different team. I can't remember who it was for the Eagles, but came away with that big swipe that Mahomes just was unaware that he was in the area. Even last week, and this wasn't a red zone play, but Mahomes had a wide open path for a first down to run, and instead he just throws it last second to somebody. He did something very similar in the other Raiders game earlier this year on the road in Vegas. So I think sometimes those, and I've said this many times, Mahomes always wants the home run play. Like every play, like if you had to grade every single play, Mahomes wants every play to be an A+. Like, man, sometimes things are just not there. Take an L and go on to the next play. Like that happens. But when you look at the Chiefs total offense, they're 9th in the NFL. That doesn't tell the entire story, obviously, because when you look at points scored, the Chiefs are 11th. Again, not horrible, but with this team's standards, should be higher. So when you have an offense that is 9th in total yardage per game and tied 11th with the Packers in points per game scoring, and you're dealing with all these drops, you got to hope at some point the guys just get it together. That's what everyone's leaning on right now. Ryan, see that Ohio State logo there? I know a lot of Mizzou fans were happy about that one. That was a weird game. That was a really weird game to start off. But hey, props to Mizzou. They didn't give up. We aren't scoring that much, man. I wish you'd be right. One of these weeks, I'd say 13-17 if we're lucky. Listen, I didn't spend a lot of time touching on the Chiefs defense, but they're going up against Orlando Brown and Jonah Williams. I can't remember his name. That offensive tackle duo has given up more pressures than anyone else in the NFL. And listen, I think Jake Browning has done a good job for the Bengals. A lot of people wrote off the Bengals, me included. Even Bengals fans wrote off their own team. Bengals fans were pretty damn quiet for a few weeks. But then they picked it up, and Jake Browning started playing much better than a lot of people anticipated. But I don't think he's gone up against a defense like the Chiefs. Even against a Steelers defense, which I think is a solid defense. Not a lot of good stuff there. So if you're the Bengals, your game plan has to be quick passes and run the ball more. Both offenses today, I'm just saying this right now, both offenses today, if they utilize the quick, short pass routes, and if they utilize the rushing attack, I think those two. I think you have a chance to win. Now, which team does it? I have more confidence in the Bengals doing that than the Chiefs, and that's not a really good sign. That is how you beat a really good pass rush, is by getting rid of the ball quickly and not letting those pass rushers get to you. But if the Bengals are going to try it, and again, the Bengals, this is the deepest receiving core they've gone up against. I know I mentioned some of the receivers that the Chiefs have gone up against this year. This is going to be the deepest receiving core. And I said earlier this week, I think all three of those guys, Chase, Higgins, and Boyd, if they were all cut today, hypothetically speaking, I think they could all be a number one wide receiver on a lot of other teams, with the exception of some teams that do have clear-cut number one receivers, like an A.J. Brown or a Tyreek Hill. But outside of teams like that, yeah, they can start and be the number one receiver on any other team, I think. So I'm very curious to see how the Bengals play this out. First, the line needs to block for Patty. That is true, Bob. Then Patty needs to deliver the ball and no interceptions. Then the receivers have to catch the ball. Number 3, Bob, is the $1 million question. Not worried about Chase or Higgins. I would be if Snead is not playing. Schefter gave like a really weird update. He's like, yeah, he might play, he might not play. It's like, what? Come on. Yeah, I don't disagree with the second part there. That's why I'm saying you got to double team Hendrickson. If you can double team Hendrickson, I think at that point it's like, okay, it's up to you now. Like, go out there and do what you can do. If you catch the ball, great. If not, well, shit. You might lose this game and you have no one to blame but yourself. It's a really bad defense. I know the Chiefs have faced a lot of bad defenses. I think this might be the worst that they'll face all year. They're bad in so many areas. You got to think the Chiefs pick it up in this one. Fantasy advice. You are asking the wrong person, but I will. I'll do it. Jordan Love against Minnesota or C.J. Stroud against Tennessee. I have not followed the C.J. Stroud thing. Is he playing today? Minnesota's been a really those are your options. I mean, C.J. Stroud has been great, but he's been hurt lately, so I guess I see that. If C.J. Stroud is playing, yeah, go with C.J. Stroud. But again, I have not followed that very closely, so I don't know. Play pass penalties. KU did it in their bowl game. Yeah. By the way, watching that KU game and the way their offense was just and that's a backup quarterback too, in Jason Bean, who, by the way, has been playing great last year and this year, filling in for JD6. But man, watching KU's offense, and I love KU. I'm a Jayhawk, but watching KU's offense throw the ball the way they did, winning all those one-on-one battles like it was nothing. They made it look easy. 6 touchdown passes for Bean. 5 years ago, if you told me that we'd be comparing the Chiefs' offense to KU's offense, I would have said you're crazy. I would have said you need a drug test. Donald says, back to the small fundamentals, run the ball, throw the screen, and slot passes. Let me get back to your comment on that. Use the double tight end packages with Kelsey and Gray. That I agree with. First team to 20 will win this game. Hoping this offense, that should definitely be a DraftKings bet right there. I think it is, in fact. Hoping this offense wakes up today. Yeah, we're hoping for that every week, Donald. As far as like the screen and slot passes, I know Dante Hall earlier this week was talking about the short passes. And look, the Chiefs had a lot of passes last week that were at or behind the line of scrimmage. And I've got no issues with that. But when the defense is already zeroing in on who you're like, I think the Chiefs telegraphed a lot of their passes last week, on a lot of their plays, I should say. Yeah, a lot of that is on Mahomes. But I guess there's no second option. If you see the defense is coming and you don't throw it to your first option, I'm guessing the Chiefs have these plays where they don't have a reliable second option. I mean, what does Mahomes do? Try to run at that point? That's what concerns me the most. And obviously, I'm not in the team meetings where they're studying game film and drawing up all these plays. But, I guess these plays that they're calling up seem to have a lot of limitations because Mahomes, even with the defense the pass blocking collapsing, defense closing in on the ball carriers, the intended ball carriers, and already being right there when they complete the pass for losses. So I don't know. That's what concerns me the most about a lot of things concern me about this team, I should say. Bob says, how about a shout for the local college football teams in their wins in the bowl games? Hell yeah, Bob. Listen, KU, K-State, Mizzou, we can all come together this week just once, right? We can be civil on the holiday season. Or not. Chiefs need to control the offensive line and score early. Yeah, that they need to do. That they indeed need to do, bud. I don't know, man. It's just, as someone was saying earlier, like, you got to hope they pick it up at some point. Yeah. Donald was just saying that. Catching the passes, that's going to be the big difference maker. I don't think the turnovers are going to change, but at some point you would think that, they're going to start catching the goddamn ball. I clean house on offense personally. Keep Mahomes, Kelsey, Rice, Patch, and the offensive line. Rest can go, and keep Andy, but fire Matt. Yeah, everyone wants Matt Nagy gone. It's time to heal and make a run. I hope so. Go Colts and Chargers. See, I'm predicting the Colts win, but I'm actually pulling for the Raiders. Here's so I'll say this right now. I'm picking the Colts and the Ravens to win today, but I'm actually pulling for the Raiders and the Dolphins, and I'll say why. Because if the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Raiders all win, the winner of the AFC South, whoever that's going to be, Colts or Jaguars, they cannot surpass the Chiefs for the number 3 seed. And if the Dolphins win, the Chiefs cannot get ahead of the Dolphins for the number 2 seed. I'm kind of at a point right now, as much as this team needs to clean shit up and use a potential Week 18 game like as a scrimmage game, I would prefer that you rest these guys, because you're not getting the number 1 seed, obviously. That is way out of reach. So you kind of need to rest the starters. Yeah, Ken, you said that in your follow-up comment. I just saw that now. I'm kind of hoping Week 18 is the rest the starters type of game, because I think this offense needs it. I think Travis Kelce needs it with the injuries he's been dealing with. Obviously has regressed. So I don't know. We'll see. No, you do, but you don't, Joshua. I mean, look at Belichick. Now there's a difference. Andy Reid's team is still winning games, though it hasn't been pretty lately. Belichick's team, I mean, the Patriots have been a disaster. Pat has a confidence problem for sure. In fact, he's gun shy. I've accused him of being worried about his numbers and being afraid of interceptions instead of taking a chance. Yeah. And here's the thing. I think we're kind of at a point too. Like, do you trust that guys like MVS, Rashee Rice? Yeah, I'll include Rashee Rice in this. Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, whenever he comes back, do you trust those guys to win one-on-one battles? Because guys like MVS and Kadarius Toney, they were able to win some of those one-on-one battles last year in situations. I remember Kadarius Toney, I think is like first or second. The one where the touchdown, I can't remember if it was a touchdown catch or almost a touchdown catch, where he was adjusting his glove while the ball was in midair, and he comes down with it on a one-on-one play there. Because I'm sure you guys remember that. Like the Chiefs did these things last year, not this year though. You're looking for the wide open guy or throwing the short passes behind the line of scrimmage. And again, I don't mind dink and dunk. I would prefer dink and dunk right now over trying to force these deep plays, but the Chiefs are trying to force these deep plays. But hey, they're the coaches, they're the players, not me. What do I know? Yeah, gotta have the best game, and they're going up against a bad defense. But now, whenever there's a bad defense that has a premier pass rusher, that can sometimes that's all they need. And against the Chiefs, and I know Wanya Morris, I think he's played well, but he did get a welcome to the NFL rookie moment last week against the Raiders. A Raiders, pass rusher in Kuntz, who isn't that great of a pass rusher in general. So that's why you gotta, because he's gonna be going up against Trey Hendrickson a lot in this game. So you got to give him some tight end help in this one. You have to. If not, I mean, good luck. This is gonna be a rough game. Rice and Ross need to step it up if no one can. I'm trying to get your comment to show up. I don't know why it's not. There we go. I mean, Ross, I don't know, man. I don't know, Debner. Shit. We're relying on like guys on the bottom of the depth chart now. That's what's going on. I agree. Big Red is the best thing that's happened to the kingdom. I would say Mahomes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Andy Reid did turn this team around in 2013, but I don't know. I think Mahomes has played a much bigger role than Reid. Listen, everyone's had a big hand in it, but if I had to rank who's number one, I would say Mahomes. The turnovers have got to stop this game or we lose again. Yep, that's true. Mahomes will never play small ball. Yeah, you might be right, bud, but you kind of need to do that at this point. How about that FSU boycott? That worked out well. The committee couldn't give two shits. Nope. Shout out to the transfer portal, right? Shout out to the transfer portal. Let's hear from someone who hasn't. We haven't read a comment from you. Bengals quarterback will fall to pieces of press. Yeah, 100%. And I think the Chiefs at times, like, they've been too hesitant on blitzing. But when they do that, you get a lot of good results. Like against Jordan Love. Where was the blitz? Whenever you blitzed him, he had a difficulty. He was rattled. Couldn't do anything that he wanted to do. Raymond says, back to the basics, play their fundamental strengths, and let their defense continue to do its thing. Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like, we're not talking about X's and O's so much with the Chiefs offense. We're really not. It's all about, like, mentality, fundamentals, things like that. Things like that. And I know I keep suggesting, like, quick passes and all that, short passes, all that stuff. But a lot of that stuff is just, like, the mentality, Yeah, some of you guys are getting a rain check, getting ready for those 12 o'clock games. Cool. I'm looking to see if our offense shows up today and starts looking like they're ready for a playoff run. Yeah, you got to hope at some point they start doing that. Kelsey needs to start chipping edge rushers and helping out the O-line. He always gets the ball late anyways on delayed plays. Yeah, that's been an issue for sure. Last comment here from Milo. Make sure Pacheco's helmet is secure. Yeah, amen to that. We all know that's been an issue. I remember who was that running back for the Titans in 2000? Let me look this up. Titans 2009 roster. Can't remember his name. I want to say it was Lendale White. Not Chris Johnson. They had two really good running backs. Not Chris Johnson, but the other running back. But I remember there was one game. Yeah, Lendale White. I remember there was one game in like the late 2000s, maybe early 2010s, where his helmet was just coming off like 3, 4, 5 times in the same game. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you got to put that chin strap on. Some of them have like multiple buckles. Buckle it up, man, because that knee to the head was pretty scary. A lot of UFC fighters get knocked out with that kind of knee to the head. So hopefully that does not happen again. Obviously very unintentional. Humphrey was just going in there to help his teammate out. All right, guys, enjoy the noon kickoff games. Come back at halftime. We will discuss the first half, hopefully a good first half, hopefully a first half where we can talk about the Chiefs getting off to a good start, and then come back after the game. Hopefully we'll discuss the Chiefs winning the AFC West. I've got them winning 27-13 in this one here. So I'm pretty confident the Chiefs will pull out with a win here. I think the Chiefs defense will play well. I think the offense will find some holds on this Bengals defense because they are not very good. And I think this is the worst defense you're going to be going up against this year. So I'm expecting the Chiefs to do that. So come back after the game. We will do the Chiefs Zone podcast live with your calls on New Year's Eve. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I will talk to you later. Take care.